I still remember the way the porch light should have looked that night. After 32 years of marriage, 28 years in the same house, and more business trips than I could count, there were certain things I expected without thinking. The kitchen window would glow a warm yellow. My wife, Linda, would probably be pretending she wasn't watching for my truck while secretly peeking through the curtains every few minutes. The television would be on low in the living room. Maybe an old Western, maybe one of those baking competitions she loved. And if my son Ethan happened to be awake, he'd hear the engine before anyone else. Dad's home. That voice used to race through the house like sunshine, but not that night. The driveway was darker than I'd ever seen it. No porch light, no television flickering behind the curtains, no movement. The house stood there like an empty shell. I turned off the truck and sat for a moment, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. Something felt wrong. Not the kind of wrong you can explain, the kind that settles into your chest before your mind catches up. I checked my phone. No missed calls. No messages. Linda knew exactly when I'd be home. I'd called her from 2 hours away. "We'll be waiting," she'd said. Those were her exact words. "We'll be waiting." Instead, the house looked abandoned. I grabbed my overnight bag and walked toward the front porch. The wooden steps creaked beneath my boots. Usually, before I even reached the door, I'd hear footsteps running across the hardwood floor. Nothing. I unlocked the front door. It swung open into complete darkness. "Linda?" Silence. "Honey?" Nothing. My heartbeat started climbing. I reached inside and flipped the hallway light switch. Nothing happened? Power outage? Maybe. But the houses across the street had lights. So did the Johnsons next door. Only our house sat in darkness. I stepped inside. The air felt strangely cold. Not temperature. Emotion. Like laughter had been missing for a long time. Linda. Still. Nothing. I set my bag down and reached for the flashlight I always kept in my truck. The beam cut through the darkness. Living room, B. Kitchen, B. The coffee mug I'd left 3 days earlier still sat beside the sink. A plate rested on the dining table. Half eaten, as though someone had simply walked away in the middle of dinner. 1,000 terrible possibilities exploded through my mind. Had there been an accident? Had someone broken in? Were they hiding? I pulled out my phone to call Linda before I pressed her name. I heard it. A tiny sound. Tap, tap, tap coming from upstairs. Someone was there. Every instinct told me to call the police. Instead, I started climbing the stairs, slowly. Each step groaned beneath my weight. The tapping stopped. Silence, then a whisper, so soft I almost imagined it. "Dad?" It was Ethan. "Ethan!" I rushed toward his bedroom. His door was cracked open. A faint orange glow leaked through the opening. Not electric light, candles. I pushed the door open and froze. My 17-year-old son sat alone on the floor. Dozens of candles surrounded him. His face looked exhausted. There were dark circles beneath his eyes. His hands were stained with black marker. Pieces of cardboard covered the carpet. Photographs, letters, old family pictures. A large poster board rested against the wall. When he looked up and saw me, his eyes filled with tears. "You came home," he whispered. I stared around the room. What happened? He didn't answer. Instead, he stood slowly, walked toward me, and hugged me harder than he had since he was 12 years old. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I felt him shaking, not crying loudly, just trembling, like someone who had been carrying something too heavy for too long. Finally, he stepped back. "I'm sorry, Dad." "For what?" He swallowed. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. My stomach tightened. "Where's Mom?" He looked toward the floor. "She's gone." Everything inside me stopped. "Gone?" He nodded once. "She left." The words echoed through my head without meaning anything. Left? No. Linda didn't leave. Linda fixed things. She stayed. She fought for people. She forgave too easily. She cried during insurance commercials. She couldn't even leave a grocery store without checking whether the cashier looked tired enough to need a smile. She didn't leave families. There has to be some mistake. There isn't. When? 5 days ago. 5 days. I'd been attending meetings in Denver, closing the biggest contract our company had landed in years. I'd spoken to Linda every evening. We laughed. She asked about the hotel. She reminded me to take my blood pressure medicine. She told me she loved me. Not once did she tell me she was leaving. I looked back at Ethan. What are you talking about? He walked toward the dresser, picked up an envelope, held it out. She left this. My hands shook before I even touched it. The front simply read, "For Daniel." Linda recognized my handwriting better than anyone. And I recognized hers instantly. I opened it. The paper smelled faintly like lavender, her perfume. Dear Daniel, if you're reading this, it means I've finally done something I should have done years ago. Please don't hate Ethan. He begged me to stay. He cried. He even offered to quit college plans if money was the problem. He doesn't deserve what's about to happen. I stopped reading. What is this? Ethan looked away. Keep going. I forced myself. You've spent your whole life providing for this family. You worked overtime, missed birthdays, skipped anniversaries, told yourself it was all for us. And maybe, once upon a time, it was. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to come home. My vision blurred. That's not fair. I had worked because someone had to. Mortgage, college savings, medical bills, retirement. I had sacrificed everything, hadn't I? The letter continued. The house became quieter every year. Not because you stopped loving us, because you stopped seeing us. I folded the paper. I don't believe this. Ethan didn't argue. Instead, he quietly said something that hurt even more. I didn't either. Silence filled the room. Finally, I asked the only question that mattered. Where is she? I don't know. You don't know. She wouldn't tell me. My voice rose before I realized it. She's your mother. I know. His shout surprised both of us. He rubbed his face. I'm sorry. I had never seen him look so tired. He sank onto the edge of his bed. I begged her to tell me. What did she say? She said. If she told me, I'd tell you. I sat down opposite him. Neither of us knew what to say. The candles flickered between us. Finally, I noticed the poster boards. What are these? His expression softened. He looked embarrassed. They were supposed to be for tomorrow. Tomorrow? He nodded. Your birthday. I had forgotten. My own birthday. Turning 63. The photographs scattered across the floor suddenly made sense. Pictures of camping trips, fishing, Christmas mornings. My first promotion, Ethan's baseball games, family vacations. He'd been making a surprise memory wall, alone, in a dark house. While his mother was gone, he picked up one photograph. It showed the three of us, standing beside the Grand Canyon. I remembered that trip. Ethan was 10. Linda had insisted we stop every 15 minutes because she wanted photographs of everything. I'd complained the whole time. Too hot, too crowded, too expensive. Looking at that picture now, Linda was laughing. Ethan had ice cream all over his shirt. And I wasn't smiling. Not really, just standing there, thinking about work, thinking about emails, waiting back at the hotel, thinking about clients. I suddenly couldn't remember what the canyon had actually looked like. Only the phone calls I'd taken from the parking lot. Ethan quietly gathered another stack of pictures. I found something. What? He hesitated. I wasn't sure if you should see it. What is it? He opened a small notebook. It was Mom's journal. I looked at him. You read it? I didn't mean to. He looked ashamed. It fell open. He handed it to me. A ribbon marked one page. The date caught my eye. Exactly 1 year earlier, Daniel sat beside me tonight for almost 2 hours. He was here. But he wasn't here. His phone rang 6 times. He answered every call. I finally stopped talking because I realized he wasn't listening anymore. I miss my husband, even when he's sitting next to me. I closed the journal. My chest hurt. I couldn't finish. Ethan spoke quietly. She wrote about you almost every day. Were they all like this? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I stood and walked toward the window. Outside, the neighborhood looked peaceful. Someone walked a dog. A child rode a bicycle. Life continued. Inside my house, everything had fallen apart. When did you know she was leaving? Ethan took a long breath. He paused. I think she'd already decided months ago. And you never told me? I tried. Every time I asked if you could skip one trip, his words hit harder than shouting ever could. You always said, He looked directly at me. This contract is important, son. Another memory surfaced. His high school music recital. I had watched through a live stream from a hotel room. I remembered telling him technology made it almost the same. Now, hearing myself in memory, it sounded ridiculous. He continued. You never noticed Mom stopped asking if you'd be home for dinner. I hadn't. You never noticed she quit planting flowers. I hadn't. You never noticed she stopped playing piano. I hadn't. Each sentence landed like another stone, not because he was trying to hurt me, because he was telling the truth. And somehow, that hurt far more. The silence stretched between us until Ethan suddenly stood. Come here. He led me into the hallway, then toward the master bedroom. Our bedroom. He opened the door. The flashlight beam swept across the room. Half the closet was empty. Her dresses, gone. Shows, gone. Jewelry box, gone. But on my pillow sat one small object. Our wedding photograph. Still framed, still smiling. Except there was a folded sticky note attached to the glass. It read, I never stopped loving you. I just stopped believing you still saw me. I sat down on the edge of the bed. For the first time in years, I cried. Not loud, not dramatically, just quietly. The way older men cry, when they finally understand something they should have understood long ago. Ethan stood in the doorway without saying a word. After several minutes, he spoke softly. There's something else. I wiped my eyes. What? He looked more nervous than before. I don't think Mom left because of work. I frowned. What do you mean? He swallowed hard. The day before she left. He hesitated. I saw someone at the front door. My heart skipped. Who? I don't know. Man? He nodded slowly. He was about your age. What happened? They talked outside. For how long? Almost an hour. What were they talking about? I couldn't hear. And then, he hugged Mom. I stared at him, she cried. The room suddenly felt smaller. Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. And before he drove away, he looked me straight in the eyes. He told her he'd waited 35 years already, and he wasn't going to lose her again. Daniel, the name echoed in my head, though Ethan had never actually spoken it. 35 years. Those words settled into my chest like cold iron. There was only one person from Linda's past. I could remember who fit that timeline. Mark Reynolds. Her college sweetheart, the man she'd dated before we met. The man she'd once described as a good person who came into my life at the wrong time. I hadn't thought about him in decades. Why would I? Linda had married me. We'd built a life together, raised a son. Shared birthdays, Christmas mornings, hospital visits, late-night conversations, and every ordinary Tuesday in between. The past was supposed to stay in the past. Yet now, standing in our half-empty bedroom, I couldn't stop wondering. Had it? I looked at Ethan. Did Mom ever say his name? He shook his head. No, what did he look like? Gray hair, tall, nice clothes. He paused and, what? He looked sad. That wasn't the answer I expected. Sad? Ethan nodded. Not happy to be here. I frowned. If he came to take her away, why would he look sad? I don't know. Neither did I. For the next several minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence inside the bedroom felt heavier than any argument. Finally, Ethan walked over to Linda's nightstand. There was something else. My stomach tightened. He opened the bottom drawer and reached behind a stack of old magazines. From the back, he pulled out a small wooden box. I found this yesterday. The box looked familiar. Dark walnut, brass hinges. I hadn't seen it in years. Linda used to keep old keepsakes inside. Mole tickets, birthday cards. Tiny reminders of moments she never wanted to forget. She'd once laughed and called it her treasure chest. I carefully opened it. Inside were dozens of memories. Our wedding invitation. A dried white rose from our anniversary. Hospital bracelets from the day Ethan was born. A tiny pair of blue baby socks. Then, an envelope older than everything else. Yellow with age. My name wasn't on it, neither was Linda's, just one word. Unsent. I looked at Ethan. Did you open it? He shook his head immediately. No. I turned the envelope over. It wasn't sealed anymore. Someone had opened it years ago. Inside was a handwritten letter. The paper trembled in my hands. Dear Linda, if you're reading this, it means I didn't have the courage to say goodbye properly. I love you enough to let you go. You deserve someone who can give you the life you dream about. I can't. So choose happiness. Even if it isn't with me, I'll always be grateful I knew you. Mark. I stared at the signature. This wasn't a love letter trying to steal my wife. It was a goodbye, a blessing, a farewell. I slowly lowered the page. Ethan looked confused. Is that from him? Yes. What does it mean? I honestly didn't know. It certainly wasn't what I'd expected. If anything, it sounded like a man who had walked away so she could have a better future. Then why had he returned after all these years? The question refused to leave my mind. My phone suddenly vibrated. Both Ethan and I jumped. The screen showed an unknown number. For a second, I considered ignoring it. Instead, I answered, "Hello?" Silence then. "Daniel?" My heart nearly stopped. Linda. Her voice sounded tired, older, as though she'd aged years in only 5 days. "Linda." Neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "You made it home. Where are you?" "I can't tell you." "Why?" "I'm not ready." My emotions exploded all at once. "Not ready?" I stood from the bed. "You disappear for 5 days, leave a letter saying you're gone and you're not ready?" "I'm sorry." "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. "No, that's not enough. I know. You could have called." "I couldn't." "You did call. I mean before." I closed my eyes. "So now what?" Another silence. Then she asked the question I never expected. "How's Ethan?" I looked toward our son. He stood frozen across the room, desperately trying to hear every word. "He's here." Linda began crying softly. "Is he okay?" "No." Her breathing caught. "He thinks you abandoned him." "I know. He spent 5 days alone in a dark house." "I know. He made birthday decorations by candlelight because he didn't want me coming home to an empty house." On the other end, nothing but quiet sobbing. Then she whispered, "I never wanted him caught in the middle." "Well, he is." Another long pause. Finally, she spoke again. "I'm staying with someone who helped me when I had nowhere else to go." "Mark?" Silence. That silence answered everything. I gripped the phone tighter. So Ethan was right. "Daniel, are you with him?" "Yes." The room spun, not because she admitted it, because she didn't try to hide it. "Did you leave me for him?" Her answer came instantly. "No." "So why are you there?" "Because he offered me a safe place." I laughed bitterly. "That sounds convenient." "I knew you'd think that." "What am I supposed to think?" "I didn't leave because I fell in love with someone else." "Then why?" "You already know." I looked around the bedroom, the empty closet, the lonely wedding picture, the journal downstairs deep inside. I did know, but knowing didn't stop the pain. Linda continued quietly, "I left because I stopped recognizing myself. I leaned against the wall. I gave everything to this family. I know you did. I worked for us. I know. I never cheated. I know. I never stopped loving you. I know." Her voice cracked. "But love isn't the only thing a marriage needs." Those words landed harder than anything else she'd said. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew they were true. Neither of us spoke for nearly a minute. Finally, she whispered, "I have to go. When will I see you again?" "I don't know." "Linda, I'm sorry, Daniel." The line went dead. I slowly lowered the phone. Ethan searched my face. "Was it Mom?" I nodded. "Is she coming home?" I wanted to tell him yes. I wanted to give him hope. Instead, I chose the truth. "I don't know." He looked down at the floor, then quietly asked, "Do you think she still loves us?" I remembered the sticky note on my pillow, "I never stopped loving you." I placed my hand gently on his shoulder. "Yes." He looked up. "Then why does this feel like goodbye?" I didn't have an answer, because for the first time in my life, I was afraid it might be.